prices have been the big story, right, over the past few months. Biden calls it Putin's price hike, and we all know that that's a crock of crap. Well, in the UK this morning, take a look at this headline in the UK. Here's this morning's headline, which says UK fuel prices hit new record. The average price of petrol went up yet again on Sunday to a new record. Look at that. $2.32 US, more than 5 weeks of successive record prices has caused a liter of unleaded petrol to rocket. 23p. What's 23p? 23 pounds? 23
Pence.
pence? Pence?
I believe it's
Philip,
pence.
you're really good at the currency conversions here. 23 pence from 165 in mid-May. So that's what the companies report. Pence, yes? 23 pence?
Yeah, it would be a pence.
Okay, a pence.
I believe. I don't know.
A penny for your thoughts.
I know what currency belongs to what country. I don't know all of the loonies involved in it. So
sing a song of sixpence.
6 pence. But now the headlines are shifting to coal this morning. And while today is the first day of summer, we're already thinking about the long, cold winter that Europe and the West will be facing because we've got a man-made energy crisis on our hands. It is man-made. There's no other way around this. It is man-made.
Sure, but living on these types of energy is man-made too. Humans existed for millennia without these types of heating and cooling devices.
Oh, okay, yes, but the artificial restriction or
the artificial
production...
dissemination came before the artificial restriction. It's always been artificial.
Was it a chicken or an egg?
I mean, but okay, I just want to say, I think we do ourselves a disservice to think, oh my God, I will die without these things when humans haven't for millennia, right? And so, but we don't know how. So we can either be afraid of it or we could teach ourselves how.
Yeah, okay. Well, countries are restarting coal-fired power plants now because the way things are going. So take a look at this headline. In energy-strapped Europe, coal gets an encore. Yeah, that's because the way things are going, there won't be enough natural gas available come wintertime. The first country to take the step was Germany, which on Sunday said it's going to restart their coal-fired plants as part of a broader plan to preserve natural gas. Here's how CNBC spins the crisis, of course, pointing the finger right at Russia in their headlines. Henning Gloystein, it says, Henning Gloystein in this article says, Director of Energy and Climate Resources at the political risk consultancy Eurasia Group, says, get ready for rationing as the way to handle this. The worst case scenario is energy rationing. That would be that non-essential industries are asked at the first stage to reduce consumption in return for compensation. That's a plan that the government in Germany published over the weekend. Non-essential businesses. So he goes on to say this. The next step would be to ration industries and households and ask them to consume much less. And that's something in Europe that most people have never experienced, he continues. That in winter means people will get cold, and in some areas it's a cold winter. Some people will die. And that's politically really toxic. And of course, it's a nasty situation to be in. So he's really worried about the politics of it. He's like, that's a politically really toxic thing. And
when people die on your watch, it's not good for your campaign.
Also, yeah, it's just a nasty situation to be in. So politically, it's going to look bad when people die because they don't have heating oil.
Can I just tell you where my mind went when we're warned that non-essential industries will be asked to conserve? And I'm like, is that why they marked what's essential and what's not during a pandemic?
Well, you beat me to it.
Since those things have already been flagged and we all agreed to it, right? And so this is sort of, I know that that's a conspiracy theory place to go, but it feels very much like.
No, it's not conspiratorial at all. I mean, it sounds that way, but it's not. Now it's been proven. Like we had Carol Roth on the show. Go back and watch our interview with Carol Roth, the author of The War on Small Business, right? And the pandemic crushed small businesses. It also, the categorization of non-essential versus essential. Like what is considered essential? Like
dog grooming versus human hair grooming.
Right. Like how does that make sense?
Right.
Like, that's essential during a crisis that we need to have our dog groomed?
I don't know.
Like if you're Nancy Pelosi, I guess, and then, and then it didn't matter, right? Because she got her hair done. Her hair did.
She did.
Even with, anyway. So how do we get here? So businesses, non-essential businesses being crushed, it all sounds familiar, right? Like the pandemic. Well, it turns out that when you cut off your supply of fuel through draconian Russian sanctions, you're going to hurt your own people. So the crisis deepened last week when the Russian energy giant Gazprom slowed down flows in a pipeline that runs to Germany. Now, Russia said, look, it was a technical issue related to the Canadian sanctions. They were sort of doing
They
software.
needed pieces of, yes, of the supply chain that came from Canada, which they were cut off from, so they say.
Yeah, so they say this had to do with Canadian sanctions, so that's why the gas was slowed down to Europe, and then Europe's like, we don't believe it. Anyway, so if we ask ourselves, where does the EU get its coal? Because now, if we're going to have to roll back to this, we're going back to coal. Turns out that 70% of all European Union coal comes from Russia.
So that's better,
Right, so we're going back to
which
that now.
we have not sanctioned yet. So
So
we can use that.
it's hilarious, right? So we're going to sanction the gas, but the coal, no, we're going to fight. We're going to turn those plants back on again. And oh, by the way, where do we get most of our coal? We get it from Russia. I mean, do you see the ridiculousness of all of this?
And we'll pay for it in ruble.
Right. Yeah, we'll use your currency. We'll buy the coal from you during this sanction period, and we'll use your currency because you're not accepting US dollars or euros anymore. How does that work out? Great. We got it. We solved that. So Germany has been pushing South Africa to get off coal for years, even sending billions of dollars in bribery money to South Africa to do that. Listen, look at that. Billions. They've tried to bribe South Africa. Get off of coal, right? And now they're heading back into coal.
Yeah. I mean, environmental issues be damned, right? Because we've created this, we've backed ourselves into a corner in the West because we've decided we're not going to use your gas, but we will use your coal. And people will think that we're being strong-armed politicians. So do we buy it? That's rhetorical, but you can tell us in the chat.
No, and the Netherlands, by the way. So let's talk about the Netherlands. We've been covering the Netherlands here on the show. I've heard from a number of our Dutch viewers who've written to me, and some of you have been very kind. You've translated videos from your prime minister, and it's very interesting to hear the flip-flopping that's been going on in the Netherlands, like not wanting Ukraine to be a part of the EU, and now suddenly they're okay with that, like this total flip-flopping and throwing out what they said like a few months ago or even a year ago. Total change, right? Total change. So Netherlands now heading back into the coal pits. Here's the report out of the Netherlands. Dutch Climate and Energy Minister Rob Jetten, I'm sure it's Jetten, right? If it's Dutch.
I don't know.
Has announced that the Netherlands is lifting all restrictions on coal-fired power stations to reduce natural gas consumption, while making an urgent appeal to businesses to save as much energy as possible ahead of the winter season. The Hague has activated the early warning phase of its energy crisis plan in the face of a potential shortage of natural gas this winter, Jetten said on Monday.
And I'm just wondering how that coal will arrive, given that the ports have been sanctioned, right? So is coal by rail okay? We're only being given the pieces of this story that make it seem like this is a dire necessity and that politicians are making hard choices but right choices. So, a good journalist would maybe follow up and say, where does that come from? And how's it getting there?
To do a search, I mean, even doing a simple Google search in the West for coal or coal shortages or coal today, like just to do a news search, almost all of the news headlines are written by Western, media companies.
Yes.
And it's like Russia squeezing Europe. Coal has to come back in favor because of Russia, Russia, Russia. Really? Even at the end of that Financial Times piece, if you can put that back up there on that screen, Jetten says at the end, I want to emphasize that at the moment, there's no acute gas shortage, Jetten noted, but nonetheless claimed that more countries are now being squeezed by Russia. Oh, is it? Is that really the case, actually? Or is it you squeezing yourselves?
Right.
Squeeze me?
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
pretty
how to
good.
say it, but that's what it is. And I like this tweet to kind of wrap it up here on this point. This tweet says, warning, any developing nation with a lot of coal, prepare for a regime change.
Right.
I mean, it's cynical, but true, right? I mean, this is what happens, right? Oh, you've got oil and you don't have nuclear weapons. Here's the United States knocking at your door. Here's the EU. We're here to help. We'd like to install some soldiers to help with your oil and all of your other natural gas, and just like we did in Syria, just like we did in the list is endless, really. So
yes. We have commenters regularly who put in our chat that fossil fuels are actually a form of clean energy. I don't know what they're talking about, and I would like to learn. So if you have references to why you say those things in the chat, have you seen these comments?
Mhm.
I'm curious because obviously I don't think any of us agree that coal is a clean energy, right?
Well, we hear about clean coal technology. When I worked in West Virginia as a news anchor and reporter, we used to hear all the time about clean coal technology, the
Yes.
burning of clean coal, right? And you hear on both sides that that's a misnomer, that there's no such thing as clean coal burning. That doesn't
Or
exist.
mining.
Or
Yes.
and I would witness in West Virginia with my own eyes the destruction of certain communities in West Virginia thanks to
Strip mining, especially. Yeah.
mountaintop
My
mining
great
removal.
grandfather was a coal miner in West Virginia. And my grandmother is proud that he was not a strip miner. He was a coal miner. Like actually went in. This was something that she used to speak about as a point of pride about her father.
So, I mean, to me, yeah, and I don't know, but to me, like the hypocrisy of these European leaders and Western leaders who are telling everyone and lecturing everyone about this technology, and now President Biden is ramping up as much offshore oil drilling as he possibly can do,
Yes.
ramping up as much coal production as possible. And at the end of the day, the European Union now, because if they're going to stop the 70% they're getting from Russia, where are they going to get it? They're going to get it from the same people they've been bullying about getting rid of coal, which is South Africa, and they're going to get a bulk of it from the United States. So again,
Yeah.
United States, South Africa, and New Zealand, Australia will be the areas where they will get so much coal right now to ship it across. So now it's not
Right.
just coming from your own backyard and by rail line. It's going to have to be put into major ships and sent across the ocean.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. You know, we've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.